Appropriation. Now, I have just one comment before we proceed. Yesterday, I went to the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. They are going on strike on Monday, 15th. They are withdrawing all their doctors from isolation centers and hospitals. We met for about 3 hours. One of their major complaints was the issue of Residents Doctors Act, which is not being implemented. It was passed in 2017 and is not being implemented. What is the implementation problem? It's not funded. It's not funded, so the resident doctors are not getting paid for their training and all of that. So, whatever we do in this budget, I think there are even agreements signed by the ministers since last year, 8 months ago, and yet it did not come in the budget. So when we're talking about COVID, we're talking about frontliners, then what are we talking about if we cannot pay our resident doctors? So whatever we do, we need to find their 4 billion in this budget. So you will advise us at what point, at what stage do we get their 4 billion, under what subhead? I think it has to go to service-wide votes. Better still. Huh? Yeah. It's very important.
Mr. Speaker, I'm from Borno State. Right Honorable Speaker, right Honorable colleagues, that the House do consider the report of Committee on Appropriation on a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act 2020 to authorize the issue for Consolidated Revenue Fund for the Federation of the total sum of 10,101,544,664,642 naira only, of which 422,775,979,362 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,951,710,000,000 only is for debt services. 4,938,261,251,904 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,488,789,433,344 naira only is for contribution for developmental fund for expenditure for the year ending 31st December 2020. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Federal Constituency, I'm from Katsina State. Honorable Speaker, I move that this House consider the report of the Committee on AIDS, Loan and Debt Management on the request for the approval of external loans to finance the federal government Nigerian proposed revised 2020 budget deficit and approve the recommendation therein. I so move.
Honorable Chris Azubuo.
The Appropriation Act 2020 was read the second time on Thursday, 28 May 2020, and was referred to Committee on Appropriations for further legislative action after the debate on the general principles. The bill seeks to authorize the issuance of Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation for the sum of 10,509,644,33,054 naira only. The background that the 2020 appropriation bill was passed into law by the National Assembly on Thursday, 5th December 2019, in the sum of 10,592,364,830 naira only, and was assented by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. However, before its implementation could be properly commenced, especially the capital components of the budget, the world began to witness the coronavirus, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, which ravaging nations and is negatively impacting the global economy and disrupting budgets, including socio-economic assumptions. The impact of this disease in Nigeria is huge, as it impacted crude oil production as well as other price of the commodity, which accounts for the greater part of our foreign exchange earnings. All the assumptions upon which the 2020 Appropriation Act was based have been disrupted, given the sharp decline in the price of crude oil and other production output caused by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, that is OPEC. This was the result of the decline in the foreign earnings. With the pandemic, there is also a decline in stagnation of the economic productive activities, with the attendance of huge loss of custom and exercise, including the value-added tax and other sources of federal collective revenues. This situation, in which rightly be considered to be the period of the economic and social emergency, necessitated the need for the revenue expenditure projection for the year ending. Given these circumstances and the nature of the amendment sought and limited to provide the committee to report to the leadership of the National Assembly in conjunction with the Committee on Appropriation in both the chambers, engage the executive in all aspects of this bill. This report is thus outcome of the interactions and the invaluable contributions made by honorable members during the second reading debate on the bill. Throughout the processing of the bill, the committee worked with the Senate counterpart to produce the harmonized report. Revenue projections. In processing the bill, the committee was also guided by approved amendment to the revenue projection by the National Assembly as contained below. Observation. In analysis to the bill, the committee observed that there were cuts in all items in the statutory transfers. One. Second, there was an increase in the debt service. The third one, there was a general reduction in the overhead and capital components of the budget, excluding the health sector. There are reductions to zero provisions to some projects in the capital components. There are also provisions to especially the service-wide boards, the capital supplementation to cushion the socio-economic disruption in the shock of COVID-19. Additional requests for the fund for inclusion in the appropriation. While considering the bill, the committee received requests from the executive to include the inadvertently omitted inadequate provisions for the projects and programs in the bill as follows. COVID-19 Fund, 186,370,000. Contingency recurrent, 7,500,000. Contingency capital, 5 billion. No. Okay, 7,500,000,000. Contingency capital, 5 billion. Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunization, 4,099,648,171. Where the letters were given to Mr. Speaker to the House. The committee reiterates the fact that any spendings by the federal government from whatever source has been appropriated within Section 80, subsection 81 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, equally, I need to just give a brief to the House on the issue of our little delay where people could not see the increment to the health sector. The health sector was captured within the MTEF, where we requested the executive to write a letter to the Honorable Speaker so that we can transfer monies for health sector back to the budget so that it will reflect to the budget. So they wrote a letter to the Speaker to take 186 billion from MTEF back to the budget, where we have 126 billion out of it for the health in COVID-19. It reflects in the service-wide budget. With the additional $3, where the executive requested for 16 point something billion out of it. I said I would discuss with him so that we take the 4 billion from there equally to add it to the health budget.
Because we are talking about 5 pages here or 6 pages. And in this period of time, we'll just go to the, so statutory transfers, 422 billion. Please, let me know at what point you want us to bring in this amendment for these resident doctors. Let me know at what point. You will bring up the amendment. Okay. Statutory transfers, 422 billion, 775 million, 979, 362. Carried. Debt service, 2 trillion, 951 billion, 710 million naira. Carried. The recurrent non-debit expenditure, where is it? Is that 3 trillion?
Because of this addition from Ministry of Health, sir.
Where is it?
Health addition was jumped this one now. Because Ministry of Health will come under this one.
Okay, sinking fund.
The fund was included with this one.
The sinking fund was included. We did the total.
Debt service. That's what I said. The recording now we jumped the recording. Debt service. We don't call it recording. You just need to talk to us and you go to the federal executive bodies.
So we go to the federal executive bodies. Okay.
Because of the amendment of the other one there.
Because of the amendment that we're trying to do, we'll skip that and we'll go to the federal executive bodies, and then we'll come back to. So. The total allocation for the federal executive bodies is 536 billion 717 450 127. Carried. Let's go back to clause 50. The subtotal for the executive 3 trillion 061 495 250 627. Carried.
The revenue is there. Yeah. There are provisions from MTEF. We didn't utilize it all. We used part of it for the executive. The executive requested only 16 point something out of the $3 we added up. Yeah, so we can take 4 billion from it and add it up to them.
Well, I believe we already considered that. We have to go from 57. We already took that 500. Okay, 51, Code of Conduct, 2175261924. Carried. Code of Conduct Tribunal, 663673664. Carried. Federal Character Commission, 2,645,633,751. Carried.